Hey, welcome to Let's Talk About It.
Oh, you wanna talk? Okay then. Baby, just say that I'm too drunk.
Hey everyone.
Welcome.
Welcome to the very first episode of Let's Talk About It.
The podcast.
The podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Sophie.
And my name's Raquel.
And we're starting a podcast for the people that know us.
Yeah, welcome. You get to hear us talk even more. You must be so excited.
You must be so ready. We talk a lot, so
yes,
just get ready.
Let's do some brief introductions for those of us who don't know us. Again, like I said, my name's Raquel. We're both McMaster students. That's where we are right now. I'm in second year, and I'm currently studying political science, public law, and judicial studies. And I'm also taking a minor and work in labor. Some fun facts about me. I'm a dancer. I've been doing ballet for like 15 years. I've stopped now, but big part of me. I'm also Jamaican and Irish. I'm not Spanish, so please don't start with the allegations. I get it all the time. I really like music. My favorite artist right now is C. Rose. And a little fun fact, I've been dating my boyfriend since I was 15, so we're going on 4 years. You know, fingers crossed. You know, Valentine's Day is coming up, so I'm excited. I'll pass it over to you.
So, hey, I'm Sophie. Like Raquel said, I also go to McMaster University. I'm in my second year of political science. I am currently specializing in global citizenship, but I am transferring into Raquel's specialization of public law and judicial studies. I guess some fun facts.
Yes.
My first fun fact would be that I'm very much into theater. So I love musical theater. I've been doing it since I was in high school. I kind of do it as a hobby, so I still perform. For those of you who are coming out to my show in April, yeah.
Gotta represent.
Follow the Back Social Science musical. So yeah, I love theater. I love to act. Second fun fact, I love to travel. So I have had the privilege and honor of being able to kind of travel to a few good countries, a lot of countries, but I want to continue expanding. I have a goal actually of visiting, I think it's 25 countries by the time 30 countries by the time I'm 25. That's what it is.
God.
That's what it is. And I'm gonna do it. My third fact, I mean, I am Nigerian.
Oh yeah.
So gotta represent. You know,
a Carib African podcast right here.
A Caribbean African podcast.
Oh, yeah.
I love this. It's
Represent
a fusion, you know? And that's pretty much. Oh, and you'll hear a lot, I'm chronically single.
Oh.
That's a good thing to bring up. You know, Raquel brought up the partner thing. She's been in a relationship since she was literally a kid. Yeah. I'm chronically single. So, hey.
Nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it.
And you're going to hear about those.
Potentially.
Yeah, potentially.
You know, speaking of, you know, what you guys are going to hear about, you know, obviously we have a few goals for the podcast that we'd love to share with you. But first, you know, like everyone is sitting at home, when they see our Instagram pop up, they go, why is Sophie and Raquel starting a podcast? Yeah. Let us tell you why. Let Sophie tell the story of the night we decided to make a podcast.
Okay, yeah. I forgot that's what we're starting with. So basically, like we said, we're political science students, of course, right? So a lot of our lives consist of politics. Yeah. So we sat down one night in our tiny basement.
Yep.
And we watched a political debate. So I don't know if you guys know about Dean Withers, but he was on Steiny's podcast, and I guess Steiny's just like kind of like a frat bro persona.
Yeah,
He's odd. Now boys type of person. And he was debating another person. She's a Trump supporter, whatever. But that debate was very heated. It was there's a lot of information there, you know. You're going to find that we were agreeing a lot more with Dean, obviously. But the end of the podcast, we kind of sat down and we were talking. And we literally analyzed it. We ripped it apart. We were trying to understand it from our perspective. Also, as Canadians, like they're Americans. So we're trying to understand it from our point of view. And then we kind of paused and I was like, Raquel, this would be a really, really good podcast idea.
Of course. I wish you guys could hear like the audio from what we were talking about that night because it got a little crazy.
It did.
We talk about politics all the time. And we're like, you know what? This deserves to be heard.
It does.
And we're funny.
I remember you saying like, literally put a microphone in front of me right now.
Why wouldn't you? Like,
exactly.
It's funny stuff. So,
it is.
Yeah, and obviously this is something we've been talking about for a while. Yeah. We wanted to pursue a passion project. That was Sophie's kind of goal.
Yeah, my goal for 2025 2025 was a passion project, and in December, I think I brought up doing a podcast a few times, and I even pitched it to my brother.
Yeah,
and that's where we got our intro song from.
No, our outro song.
Sorry,
outro. Come on, lock in
our outro song.
Yeah, we'll link that below.
Yeah, we'll plug both of the intro and the outro below.
Yes. But yeah, so back to kind of what our goals are for this podcast. As we've kind of alluded to already, we really want to get into some of this like political stuff.
Yes.
We are political science students, so a big goal for this is kind of to break down current politics into like a digestible way for you guys, and a lot of like crazy concepts that we're always talking about, and kind of like making sense of them, if that makes sense, while also providing our very good opinions.
Yes, very good.
Another big goal would be just like learning. Obviously, I want to really emphasize we are students. We're still currently learning, and a big part of learning is being able to have conversations like these.
Absolutely.
Sophie and I don't always agree on everything. We have a lot of like conversations about that, and that helps expand, our knowledge.
Yeah. While you guys are learning, we're learning too. And
absolutely.
As much as this is information for you, it's information for us.
Of course, yes.
Yeah. And that's why we're going to bring on guests.
Some guests, potentially, yeah. So
do you want to give them a sneak peek?
A little sneak peek? We have a couple topics that are in mind for things we want to cover. So we've contacted a few professors, a couple political science TAs, and a few of them have agreed to appear on a couple episodes. So exciting. Considering this all goes well, right? Like
first episode.
Wishful thinking.
Yeah. But those are going to be very, very exciting episodes.
Yeah, we're very excited. So those will be a little bit lengthier, and the format of our podcast will change slightly.
Yeah.
But just so you guys know what to expect, this episode is going to look a little bit different. We're just doing a brief intro, but usually we'll have our topic of the week. We want to introduce a segment called like Media of the Week. Yes. So we're going to have some like information, some like TikToks, something like that we've seen online. We have a section called Let's Kiki.
Let's Kiki. We love to Kiki.
Yes, and that's just kind of, aside from the politics, kind of what's going on in our lives. Is there something happening in pop culture? At the time of filming, we're a week out from the Grammys. So,
oh, gosh, yeah.
That would have been something fun to cover, but stuff like that. And then potentially a little like Q&A segment that we'd love to interact with you guys a little bit more, hear what you have to say. That's how we're going to learn. That's how we're going to teach. That's how, everything's going to keep the ball rolling.
Conversations.
Of course.
Yeah, they're going to be fun things to kind of spark.
Absolutely.
Spark our ideas. Yeah. Anything else you have to say about that intro?
I don't think so.
You covered that very well, miss.
Well, welcome. I'm excited. I'm excited to see everyone.
This. And also, because I just kind of thought about it, this is a political podcast, but kind of like what Raquel was saying, we do talk about a lot of varying issues. So we want to put out there, if we do cover a very heavy subject or topic, we will disclaim that before. Yeah. We'll add disclaimers, and we'll add warnings if there's anything that might come up. But we're going to talk about a lot of things. So politics, life, society, culture, us.
Absolutely.
Things that are happening around us. We're young people. Yes. There's a lot of stuff going on. So it's just going to be everything and anything.
Yeah. And please keep in mind, again, I want to reiterate, we are students. What we're saying, we are putting a lot of research behind a lot of it. And we're going to provide a lot of links and resources where you guys can learn more. But at the end of the day, like, we are learning, and we're only second years, so if our opinions are a little underdeveloped,
what can we say? We're 19.
Yeah, we're 19. So I think we have mature opinions.
I would think so.
But I just don't want anyone to like take what we're saying and take any harm from it. At the end of the day, we're all just learning and figuring things out the same way you guys are. So
beautifully said.
Thank you.
Of course, beautifully said.
I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah.
Let's kind of move on to our topic.
Let's do it
this week.
Exciting.
Yeah. So today we wanted to touch kind of in theme with, our goals of this podcast is this idea of political education.
Ooh,
yes. A little dry,
but it's okay.
But it's important to know.
Yeah.
Of course.
It doesn't have to be dry. We're still going to break it down for you a little bit. So let's start off with a definition of political education. So, in our research and our scoundering of the internet, we found a definition that we thought was very
encompassing.
Exactly, very effective. And so it says political education may be defined as the knowledge, attitudes, I almost said attributes, attitudes and skills necessary for citizens to participate in the political process.
Dumb that down for us, Sophie.
Let me dumb it down for you. So, It basically, it's the knowledge and the ability to be able to participate in politics, to be able to understand politics, and when you go to the polls, to be able to make an informed decision.
Yes.
That's the best way to describe it.
Of course.
Political education is very, very important. We, not only as political science students, but just as people. It's very important to understand what's going on around you, the world you live in, and the government that will protect you and looks after you.
Yeah.
The government's a big part of society, and it's very important that you're educated and informed enough to ask for and elect a very specific government that you want representing your needs and your beliefs.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know what? I think it is really important, for political education to be kind of like, I don't know if I want to use the word pushed, but at least for people to be more aware of it and its purposes, especially in our current political climate. You know, at the time of filming, we are still before the provincial election. And obviously the federal election is coming up in the fall. I think it's October.
Potentially
around
usually
then.
in October, but it's a snap election, so we'll see.
So obviously with those things coming up, a lot of young Ontarians and Canadians don't really know what to do.
No.
Especially with like Trudeau like stepping down. Like this is a new thing. A lot of people don't know what like proroguing parliament. Yeah.
Yes,
they don't know what that means. No. I barely knew what it meant, and I'm in poli-sci, so I don't blame the rest of our science friends and this and that, and not really understanding what's going on. So I think it's really important that political education is taught and people place importance on it. I know one thing I was talking to Sophie about was when President Donald Trump, DJT, came down and he made some tweet or something and was like, oh, you know, why doesn't Wayne Gretzky run for prime minister? And
why doesn't Drake run for prime minister? I mean, I don't know. What a question.
I just kind of paused and I was like, does he know that you can't run for
prime minister?
Like, I think he's a little bit confused. So I don't know. And I think for the leader of like a great global superpower to not understand how their neighbor's political system works to the most basic degree.
Come on, like,
it's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
And you know, if you guys don't know, it doesn't mean that, you know, we're shaming you.
No.
We're shaming the president who is supposed to know, right?
Yes.
But, you know, we were talking about, you know, there are a lot of problems that kind of follow with this idea of like political ignorance and not knowing the importance or the basics of Canadian let's say governance.
Yeah,
lovely. So we had a brief idea.
Oh,
now I don't know. I don't think it's controversial. I think this is great.
I don't think so. I don't think it is either, and I don't think Canadians as a whole would find this controversial. But some other people might, and that's okay. I think we can have our own opinions about this. But as we were kind of talking about political education, as we were talking about this idea of, like Raquel said, political ignorance, it got us thinking. It got me thinking. And, you know, I was like, well, there should be some form of literacy test for politics. And this is not to scare anybody. No. I'm not saying that you should know every tax code, every policy. Listen, you should know how taxes work if you're paying taxes. If you are, however, I don't know how they work, but however, it's not about difficulty in understanding complex political issues. It's about understanding the foundation and the basics of the government that you live under. So basically, this could be a free course. No, it would be a free course.
It would be a free course. To avoid any issues with like inequality.
Yes.
The argument that we imagine would come up with this idea of having a course is like, you know, what about like people who aren't in high school?
Right.
Because like compared to like a literacy test or like, what is it, the math test that you have to take to graduate.
EQAO and things like that.
Like people are like, well, what if you're not, you know, in high school? Does that mean you don't get to vote? No. We would provide free public courses and, you know, tests and stuff like that to avoid any issues of inequality in that aspect.
Exactly. And in this course, you would learn the basics and then you would be tested on it. And passing that test would then provide voter participation.
Yeah.
Now, let me explain what this test would look like, just so that we don't get ahead of ourselves. It would just ask, again, for the basics. So an example could be, well, what are the three branches of the government? And very basically, you can just say the legislative, so that's the House of Commons and the Senate, okay, and the judiciary, which is our Supreme Court.
Yeah.
We don't really have an executive, but if you want to say that we did, it's the cabinet. Yeah. So the cabinet and the prime minister. And that's it. That's it. You know, or you could be asked, well, what are the major parties in Canada? And we have multiple, but the three main, NDP, Conservative, Liberal. That's it.
Yeah.
It's just that you as a voter are confident in understanding what and who you are voting for.
Of course.
The course would also encourage you and suggest that you go beyond the course and go learn about the individual parties. Of course, you have to keep the course nonpartisan.
Yeah.
So go and learn about the Liberal Party. Go learn about the CPC. Go learn about the NDP. Go learn about what they are advocating for and what they want for Canadians so that you can make an informed choice. But at the very basic level, you should understand what our government does.
Yeah, especially, like we're 19, so we're only a year into like being able to vote and stuff like that. So for a lot of us and a lot of our peers, it is our first time voting like this year. And, we're a victim to it too. Canadian politics is not that interesting.
It's not a soap opera.
It's very kind of like boring.
It's kind of dry.
It's kind of dry
sometimes, yeah.
And we're, not saying we're only going to be talking about Canadian politics here. You guys would never listen to us again.
No.
We're going to be mixing in with a lot of global politics, U.S. stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I know for me, like one of my goals of this year was to really pay attention to Canadian politics and figuring out who exactly I want to vote for. Put my previous beliefs, put my previous, party alliances aside and look at what's going to be best for, the country and what's going to be best for our province.
Absolutely.
So being able to do that and make a politically informed decisions should not come only if you're a political science university student.
Absolutely.
Like if we can make it where you're going to recreation centers, you're going to public libraries and you're, picking up a book or you're taking a 30-minute course or something like that, where you're just given the opportunity to learn before you can make, a decision. And hopefully we can do it in a way that doesn't discourage, voter turnout.
Yeah.
That's ideal. I think
agree.
that's great. And it leads us to a country that brings us back to democracy and not to, what our neighbors are up to there. In Biden's word, an oligarchy.
An oligarchy,
which I'm not saying we don't have, but I'm saying informed political decisions may be able to prevent that in the future.
And you do bring up a really great point, and I think that with political education, I think also comes with this idea of diversity of opinions.
Yes.
Like you were kind of saying, going beyond what you believe is your political party and understanding. I think something that kind of happens with kind of being politically ignorant is this narrow view, and so you're kind of put in a box. Here's the thing about Canada is that we like to have varying opinions.
Yes.
It's not like the States where I think we have a lot of partisanship. We do. However, because we have so many different political parties, you could vote for one party in your provincial election and then vote for a whole different one in the federal.
Yeah, and it's very common.
It's very common.
Yeah.
It's very common. And that's okay. And that should happen because sometimes there are local elections and federal elections, they are advocating for two very different things.
Yes.
And so that's okay to want to vote different ways. And so that is what political education should be encouraging and should lead you to. A variety of ideas and away from divisiveness of the different parties,
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, you know what? Let's move on from this topic just for a minute now.
Just for a minute.
As just a brief footnote here, when we're talking about our topic of the week, it will be a lot longer than our little snippet here. We just wanted to pick kind of like a light topic to start this week off with, considering you guys don't know us yet. Spend a little time getting to know us. But I would love to move on to our next segment, which we are going to call Media of the Week.
Yeah, we might find a better, funnier term, but Media of the Week for now.
Yeah, we kind of didn't get too creative there. We're going to put the TikTok on the screen in just a few seconds. So we'll put that up there now.
I think he's scared is the first thing. Why is he writing me a letter on a Sunday morning, first off? Secondly, look, I think he lacks respect. He lacks respect for many Canadians.
Why don't you tell them about the video?
I'm going to tell them about the video. You guys just watched it.
Yeah.
So at the time of filming, this is probably a little bit more relevant than you guys are seeing now. We're going to have a faster turnout as this podcast goes on. Okay. Awesome. But yeah, so the video that I showed you guys features Mark Carney, who is one of the, I guess, like he's just running for...
Let me unmute myself. He is running for the leadership position in the Liberal Party.
I didn't want to mess that up, especially when we're talking about political education.
You're not politically educated.
So, and it was him talking about the fact that Pierre Poilievre had sent him a letter on a Sunday morning. And we just thought it was a little funny.
It's hilarious.
Especially because, and we're going to put this note on the screen and circle
I have
the amount of times that Trudeau's name is mentioned. I think it's 11.
I think it's over 10.
I think it's
I
over
really
10.
do think it's over 10.
And Carney's name is mentioned once. And it's addressed to Mark
It's
Carney.
a little ridiculous. I can speed read or give a synopsis.
Yeah, give us a nod. It's up to you.
I haven't read it, so let me give a speed.
You can tell we're really prepared.
Yeah, first video. I'll give you a speed read of what I believe are the best points. Okay, so he starts off with Mr. Carney, the one and only time he addresses Mark Carney.
Single.
I will get straight to the point. Please do. The reason there is a Liberal leadership race is for you to run in today is that the Liberals admitted that Canadians were done with Justin Trudeau. Count. One.
Okay, that's number 1.
And all the damage he's done to our country over the past 9 years. Liberal MPs threw Trudeau
2
under the bus so they could tell voters that they have put the Trudeau
3
agenda behind them and everything is brand new. But it took an entire team of Trudeau
4
ministers to double housing costs, double food bank reliance, double gun crime, and double the national debt. Justin Trudeau's
5
team of ministers not only endorsed his agenda, but helped write it, push it, and implement it. Keeping Trudeau's
6
team is the same as keeping Trudeau. That's a dumb sentence. Sorry.
It
Sorry.
is.
So I have a question for you. Oh, please pose your question.
Please.
You could be the prime minister in 43 days, and if you are to be any different than the man you are trying to replace, will you commit now to banning any prior Trudeau ministers
That's 8
from serving
That's
in
8
your cabinet, or will you hire the same Trudeau ministers
9
to pursue the same Trudeau
Yo, that was quick.
agenda and continue the same Trudeau
11
failures that the country has rejected? Canadians await your response.
11
11
and a lot of
times.
nonsense too,
A
right?
lot of nonsense.
And we don't mean to, pick a side, but I thought it was a funny video.
The video's actually
Just
hilarious.
considering he's like, yeah, I don't know why he's sending me a letter on a Sunday morning.
It's like, don't you have other things to do?
I don't think he does.
I don't think he
except for sit and tweet.
You know what? Listen. Politics aside,
Yeah.
I really do think Pierre has a shrine of Trudeau in his bedroom.
I agree.
I can see the posters. I see the one of Trudeau looking really, really, sexy, just looking really handsome. And it's right above his bed where him and his wife lay.
Where his wife?
Where him and his wife lay right above a poster of Trudeau, and his wife looks up at it like, that's my real husband.
Dude, it's like those edits with Biden and Trump when they were going against each other. And it's honestly I think Pierre was looking forward to those edits with,
I think so.
with Mr. Trudeau there.
He might be a little queer, and that's okay.
And that's okay. We don't judge here.
We love it.
We love it.
We love queer media.
We love queer media.
Holding space.
Holding space. All right. Well, that's all we have for Media of the Week this week. Again, just explaining some things since it's our first time doing it.
Yeah.
These won't always be political.
No.
Sometimes there's going to be funny stuff that we saw that week.
Sometimes it might be a monkey.
Sometimes we really like those little monkey videos. I don't know if you guys know this monkey
On your
named
Instagram
Kiki.
reels. We love you, Kiki.
We're going to put up a clip of Kiki right now.
Yeah, right now. Go. Yeah,
go.
Go.
All right. Speaking of Kiki.
Speaking of Kikis, yeah.
We're going to move on to our third segment.
Let's Kiki.
Let's Kiki. And
Kiki.
it doesn't mean the monkey. It means...
Unfortunately not.
What does Kiki mean? Tell us.
Okay, so I introduced a lot of my friends to this word, but I did not create it. I cannot take...
I think she found it from Glee.
Okay. Here's the thing. Technically, it's like a drag word. That's where I actually originally found it from. I found it from drag. I found it from RuPaul's Drag Race. A lot of drag queens use it. A lot of gay people use it. And Kiki, very simply put, means a gossip session, a shit-talking session.
Okay,
I'm
babe.
getting tongue-tied. It's a gossip thing, and it not gossip in a bad way, but literally just gossip. It's
just a little chit-chat.
Chit-chat, and it's amongst girls, and a Kiki session is always sacred, at least in our house.
It is. Very much so.
Very much so. If you get to be a part of one of our Kiki sessions, I make you swear an oath. I did it to Brady the other day.
Oh my God.
Brady's our upstairs roommate, and he got to be a part of our Kiki, and I told him to swear to never tell anyone what was said.
Hey,
because
it's important.
It's important. It's a sacred circle.
We're sharing this with you guys.
Yeah. So
aren't you excited? But
You're
we're
welcome.
not really going to be necessarily gossiping.
No, it won't be for gossiping this time.
We're going to talk about just some stuff that's going on with us. Like, as we mentioned, like, we're students. So if, something crazy happened in class, we had a prof who, did this, or, like, we just learned something interesting. Right. Again, if there's something in pop culture we really want to talk about,
we'll talk about it.
This is the unstructured part.
Yeah, it's a personal segment. Yeah. So, and in addition to our lives as students, we'll just hear about maybe our lives. Maybe there's something that happened with a friend and we're giving you advice or how to handle something.
For sure.
We don't know.
And you know what? When we're doing kind of like our more structured podcast and we have like guests or people like that on, this time may just be more like politics. But we're going to try to keep it light.
Or maybe we'll get to know them a little bit better.
Yeah, get to know them a bit more. This one's up for interpretation. Yeah.
It's for you guys to interpret. For you guys,
yes. Yeah. But for today, we thought it'd be fun continuing, you guys getting to know us on the first episode to kind of talk about Sophie and I and how we know each other. Kind of a bit of our background because people think we've met here.
That is crazy.
And it's crazy because I'm like, I know this girl for time.
Yeah, a lot of people in our first year were like, you guys just met. Well, they were like, you're so close for people who just met. It's like, no. I would not be this close with someone I just met a few months ago. No. Yeah. Raquel and I grew up together.
Yes.
If you can't tell.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we went to the same elementary school.
Yes. And we lived in Whitby, if you guys know where the hell that is.
It's like very out east if you're in Ontario, but not crazy out east. We're in the GTA.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we grew up it used to be considered a smaller town.
Yeah. It's bigger now.
It's bigger now.
We have a Wingstop.
We do. Woo!
Yep. So we're kind of making it up in the economy.
We're getting up. We're getting our bread up.
Yeah.
But we grew up together. We actually grew up also 2-3 streets down from each other.
We were very close.
Very close. Our mail got mixed up a lot.
Many times.
Yeah. And I think that's what made us close because then I had to give you mail, you had to give me mail.
Go to each other's house bare.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. And so we became friends like grade 5? Is that what
I would say so, yeah. And then like kind of past that, we kind of were in like this like weird trio like group, and we grew to be very close.
Very close, yeah.
And yeah, those were great years. Very fun. We rode the bus together.
We did.
We had beef outs with other people.
We had beef outs with each other.
Sophie and I fought.
Yeah, we did.
We made up.
We made up.
So it was okay.
Yeah.
We're just kids.
We'll give you a deep dive on some of our like older lore later.
Yeah. But it was good. And then for those of you who know me personally, I moved to an art school after to pursue dance, as I mentioned. So I left Sophie alone and we went to different high schools.
Different high schools, yeah.
But it was good. Like we still stayed in contact. We saw each other like once a year, twice a year, shit like that.
It was, but it was good. Like, and that's kind of how I feel like we both knew that we were good friends.
I think so too.
Because we could be apart, not really speak, and then come back, and it still felt the same way it did, and we still gelled really well.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, like, I hadn't heard from Sophie in so long. And I think I had posted on my story being like, I just got accepted into Mac.
Yeah.
She texted me, she's like, I might go to McMaster. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about?
Because we had never talked about school.
Never. I had no idea where this girl was going. Like, we were very like distant, but like still good friends. And I'm like, oh shit, like Sophie's coming to Mac. Like, thank God. Like, I have some more people to hang out with.
Because do you remember we had I think that was the one time we had seen each other in grade 12.
Yes.
And we had a conversation about schools. And because I was like, I don't know where I'm going to go. And you and my dad, I say this like to this day from when I chose. You and my dad were the biggest factors of me coming to Mac.
Aww, that's so sweet. I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, it's just like, because just to get a little personal, I was going to go to UBC originally, which is University of British Columbia. I had an entrance to do a dual degree in both acting and political science. And, that was something that was really important to me. I was like, I really wanted to pursue this passion, but it would have been a really, really hard adjustment. Yeah. I think moving so far away. It's a plane ride away. Holy cow.
Yeah.
And so I kind of was like, you know what? Like, I'm going to stay at home, and I'm going to go to Mac. It made sense. It was close to home. It was still kind of close to Toronto.
Yeah.
And I could still pursue my acting down here as well.
Yeah.
So I was like, I know somebody, so why not?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of a funny thing about Sophie and I that you'll notice. We are very similar because I almost did the exact same thing. Like, I really wanted to go to Dalhousie, and I did get accepted. And I got a wicked scholarship, like not to be that guy.
Not to be that guy.
But I got it after I had already accepted to Mac. And like just mentally, I was like, okay, well, I've already committed to go to Hamilton. Do I really want to go to Nova Scotia that far away? So it was like, Sophie and I are both having this kind of like internal struggle.
Right?
And then we both chose to go to the same spot.
Exactly.
And then also like she's trying to pursue like her like acting. You see that artsy side in kind of both of us there, right?
And
that's
dancer
how
and actor.
two of us end up in a political science podcast.
Because we're like, we need to keep that creative side with us somehow.
Of course. Yeah. And then Sophie and I spent our first year together. It was great.
Brandon Hall.
It was fine. First year was interesting. I was in Brandon, so it wasn't nice. Shout out to all my Mac people. And now we live together. We're roommates.
It's so exciting.
Yeah, it's very exciting.
With our fellow roommate, Sam.
Sam Kozak, we
Shout
love
out
you.
Sam, we love you. She'll be so excited.
I know. She'll be on for an episode.
Yeah, definitely.
Of course. But
she's asking.
Is there anything else that we think, what's important about us that they need to know?
Think, that's our origin story. I mean, obviously there's a lot more nitty-gritty, but we'll get into that later. You'll learn about us as we go along.
Of course, yeah.
But, that's it.
Let me ask you a little question while we're here. Why don't you tell me and share with the class here
okay.
Kind of what your plans are past undergrad?
Ooh, this is a good question. So these are my plans. Tentative. So because we're in poli-sci, and you can kind of get the sense that we like all things politics, all things maybe governance. I'm going to law school. That's the hope. Cross fingers. Fingers crossed. I'm hoping to apply to a law school in Toronto potentially. So it's a debate between some of the top law schools, but a lot of them in Ontario are very, very good.
Yeah.
And so I'm hoping to apply to Osgoode, which is at York, U of T. Those are kind of the big two in Toronto that I would apply to. And then outside of the province, because I'm debating that as well, I would apply to UBC because they have a really good law school.
Run it back.
And that's it. Queens has a great law school, so does Western, and so does McGill, but those ones are kind of toss-ups.
Yeah.
And so once I go to law school and kind of get my degree, I'm hoping to potentially practice international law. There's a lot of differing opinions about the UN. Would I work for them potentially? Yeah, as a lawyer, or work under some type of diplomatic sense or position. That could be cool. Or if not, work for an international human rights organization. Okay. That's kind of the hope. And if I don't go into international law, I'm no, it's not for me. I'd probably go into criminal.
Okay.
Potentially.
Prosecution or defense? Tell the people.
Wow.
What side are you on?
Do you know it's so funny because I know what you're gonna say?
Yeah.
Prosecution.
I knew it though.
But I would only do a very specific type of prosecution.
Okay.
Which I don't know if is allowed, but I would love to try sexual abuse cases.
Okay.
You kind of know, you've watched. I don't know if you've watched, but Law and Order SVU.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So they have a specific lawyer who only handles their cases.
Okay.
And all their cases are sex crimes or their child crimes.
This is so sad.
I know, but
Trigger warning.
Trigger warning. So sorry, but I'm very kind of passionate about helping people in those positions. So I would definitely go into something like that. That interests me a lot.
Okay. See, this is where Sophie and I differ.
Yeah.
And this is kind of where we diverge, which
tell
is something
the people.
interesting.
Tell
I'm
the
gonna
people.
Them. I'm gonna go from the beginning though. So for me, I also want to go to law school. I want to go actually to Dalhousie. So we're kind of going back to our roots there for law school. It's been my dream for a bit. I'm still going to apply to a bunch of other schools. City life is not so much for me. So going down to the East Coast where I kind of have family. Well, they live in PEI, but shout out Hayden if you're watching. I have family down there. So it's just something that's a little bit more familiar to me. It's less out of the city. I hate Toronto. It stresses me out. So but that's obviously something that we're still deciding on. We being me. I was like,
yep, me too.
But for the practice of law or the area of law I want to go into.
Tell the people.
In high school, I was really into the idea of constitutional law or corporate.
Which is great.
I don't know where I got that idea from.
No, but it's great. Yeah, the charter.
The charter, of course. And I just kind of was like, no, I'm okay. My law teacher told me it was like watching paint dry. So I was like, okay, way to throw off my dream. But
it's a very dry.
It is.
Dry
so
area of law.
From there, I kind of moved into this idea where I wanted to do employment law, which has sparked my love for work and labor, my minor. But then like a month ago, I was like,
literally a month ago,
I woke up one day and I was like, you know what? I'm going to be a criminal defense lawyer.
Period.
So I don't know. And I mean, this is where I said Sophie and I kind of differ. You know, maybe we'll be going against each other one day. But it's less, let me help off everyone I can, but more just about I do have that kind of love for the law and for being this is the way everything's supposed to be set up. I don't make it, but I'm going to enforce it. I'm going to make sure that, my client is going to, Listen, if Sophie does her job poorly as prosecution, that's her fault, not my client.
It's true.
You know, but obviously this is something that's a new idea for me. I have a lot of like pure intentions for I want to do it. I really do subscribe to the idea that, you know, it's better to let 100, you know, guilty people walk free than to let one innocent person go to jail. So, especially, you know, as two racialized women and seeing the kind of inequalities that happen, especially for Indigenous women and men in Canada.
Absolutely.
So if I am given the opportunity to kind of help them and to give them a second chance to, you know, prove their innocence and stuff like that, I would love that.
That's very beautiful.
It's beautiful. But whenever I say criminal defense, everyone's like, okay, she's a liar and a cheat. I'm like, okay, guys.
She just wants the money.
This is why political education is important.
It's important.
But I don't know. It's still 50-50 for me.
Yeah. No, but it's
we have time.
And I think criminal defense is great. No, I truly do. And I think, like you said, it's very important for everyone to have representation, and it's very important to follow the law. Of
course.
And I mean, that's something we'll eventually talk about. Our justice system is constantly abused.
Always,
constantly abused, and which is sad. I mean, it's supposed to protect people. Obviously, nothing's perfect, but it does a lot more harm sometimes than good.
Yeah.
And so you need people like you who want to kind of go in and be like, you know what, like the law is the law, so don't prosecute people just because.
Just because you're trying to like meet that quota. Right? Like it can be harmful, and this idea of money and greed and all these things make their way into the judicial system the way they do with everything else. And one other thing I'd love to talk about in future podcasts is this idea of like, you know, the prison system, the state prison system, because I have a lot of opinions about that. Yeah. More so in the States, but, you know, anything they do happens here to a lesser degree. Honestly, that's what we're seeing now. So, that plays a part into it too, because there's a lot of stuff going. Y'all seen Shawshank Redemption?
I've never seen that movie.
I don't know how she's never seen the top movie of all time.
Because we were talking about it one day, and I was just like, yeah, like I've never seen that movie before. And she's like, what?
I made Kyle watch it with me because it like bothers me that you guys haven't seen film.
And I'm a movie buff. I have not seen that one.
Shawty said she's a movie buff and she hasn't seen Shawshank. Bro,
the clock was a clock.
Unfortunately, but that's okay. That's what we're here to do.
To clock each other.
To clock each other and to learn and everything. Anyways, guys, we do have one last thing we want to chat about, but before that, just giving you guys a heads up. You know, like we really appreciate you guys giving us support. And although this episode is not as, you know, planned out and structured and fun the way, you know, we plan them to be, you know, we still wanted to introduce ourselves and kind of give you guys a basis, an idea, a sample.
Just a little taste test.
Taste test of what everything's going to be about. So
and episode 2, I think, will be a lot more fun.
Yeah, we have a lot of interesting topics.
Mind-catching.
Yeah.
Mind-blowing.
You guys are going to find out very soon. I have a lot of very interesting opinions.
I don't want to yell, but I'm so excited.
I'm not going to go into make them
my word.
crazy.
I'm so excited.
Don't tell them.
No. You will hear them. She has a lot of great conspiracy theories.
I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I just like to ask questions.
Okay.
I like to ask questions. That's all.
Wait till she gets to the levels. That's it.
All right. Sorry for our little rambling at the end. I think we're just both excited.
Yeah. And this is just who we are.
This is just who we are. So you'll get to see it a little bit more. I hope that's a good thing, not a bad thing.
No, it's a wonderful thing.
I don't know. To all our haters watching. Ha! Hey, it's okay.
Sucks to be you.
Sucks to be y'all.
Sucks to be y'all.
But thank you guys.
Thanks for joining in, and
we'll see you next time.
Wait, we said we're gonna call them. Remember? See you next time.
Oh, see you next time, FamJam.
I'ma go hit from the back, and I keep me a Mac in my backpack. If a nigga want smoke, he can have that. Fashion over G's, make her ass fat. Say you shooting shit up at this rat cat. Got a brand new whip, but I crashed that. Shorty saw me too good, pay the cash at.